The addition rule is a rule for finding probabilities that can be expressed as P, A or B, meaning probability of A or B. The notation P, A, or B just means the probability of event A occurring or event B occurring, or even both events as a single outcome. The key word you should pay attention to here is the word or. So when we say or, we typically mean that that is a clue that you're going to need to add something together. Or typically means addition. Another thing to consider is a compound event. A compound event is any event combining two or more simple events. So here is the addition rule formally. P, A, or B is equal to probability of A plus the probability of B minus probability of A and B, where P, A, and B denotes the probability of A and B both occurring at the exact same time as an outcome in the trial. So let's look at an example and see what we can learn. The following table summarizes the results of challenges by tennis players by gender. The results are summarized as yes, successful challenge, or no, unsuccessful challenge. Assuming one challenge is selected at random, answer the following questions. So let's look at our table, and we see we have men and women here, and successful and unsuccessful challenges labeled here. So the first thing is, when you have a table like this, it's best to know how many events are you dealing with? What's the n value? And so what we're going to do is we're going to take each value and we're going to add them together so we know how many events we have. So the sample space here, when we add all those up, is going to be 839. So it's good to know what n is. Now we can jump in to see what we got here. So we're going to find the probability that a selected challenge was unsuccessful. Well, all the unsuccessful challenges are under no. So it's these two numbers here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two, 288 and 224. We're going to add them together. And when we do that, we're going to get 512. Now we want the probability. Probability just means what we want over what there is in totality. So what we want is no, which is 512. So 512, oh, got it backwards. 512. And we're going to divide it by the total number of, which is our n value, which is 839. So 512 over 839 is the probability, but we typically want to write as a decimal, so just plug it into your calculator. And you typically want to round to 4 decimals unless otherwise stated. But when you do that, we're going to get 0.6103. So the probability that a selected challenge was unsuccessful is 0.6103. Now let's step up the difficulty just a little bit. Let's find the probability that a selected challenge was either a woman or successful. So two things going on at once. So let's find out how many challenges were done by a woman. Well, we have 126 and 224. So 126 plus 224 is going to give us 350. Now, successful is going to be anything under yes. So these two. So 201 plus 126 is going to equal 327. Now you should see here that we have circled 126 times, 126 two times. So this, if you remember what the rule states up here, is an event occurring at the exact same time. So P, A, and B. So the probability of selecting a woman and it being yes is the P and B, A and B. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the probability of A, selecting a woman, the probability of B, selecting a successful answer, and we're going to subtract the overlap, the 126. So we're going to have 350 divided by 839 plus 327 over 839. And again, we're going to subtract it from the overlap, 126 over 839. And again, we're going to just throw that into a calculator and let it do the work for us. And when we do that, we're going to get the probability that is 0.6567. And that's how you would do that one. Now last, we're going to again do two events at the same time. So we're going to find the probability that a selected challenge was unsuccessful or a man. So something that was unsuccessful, 288 and 224, or a man, 201 and 288. Now we can see that 288 is selected twice, so that is the overlap, that's the intersection, the and part of the formula. So we're going to have to subtract the 288. So we're going to take our two values and we're going to add the men and the unsuccessful. So I'm just going to write them down here. I'm not going to just write it out explicitly, each addition part. So we're going to have 512 over 839 plus 489 over 839, and we're going to subtract it from the 288 over 839. So again, put that onto a calculator, see what you get, but when you do it, you should get 0.8498 as the probability of selecting a challenge that was either unsuccessful or a man. So when you're dealing with these, you need to be very careful, especially when you're dealing with overlap, because if you count it twice, like we did with the part B and part C, you're going to get a wrong answer. You have to remove the fact that you've counted it twice. You need to remove it once. So that's what we did with the 288 here, and that's what we did with the 126 on the second part.